花开之际，外企高管为何齐聚一堂？
I have been to China so many times I can't even count. I try to come several times every year. Last year I was here 3 different times.
Oh, quite a lot of visits, right? Because China is very important to me.
We're at a period of profound and complex change, and so people come together to think about the future are incredibly important.
3家世界500强掌门人如何看待中国创新力？
The speed of innovation here in China is unmatched. It is the fastest anywhere in the world. It makes us better. Our customers demand more and make us better here.
I think that one of the real insights and innovations I take from China is the way of thinking about systems differently, building out end-to-end processes with each part of that system talking to each other and working together.
Aspect today is that also the government now has a clear strategy that innovation needs to lead in the end to better life of people, and that's so much linked to my company's Invented for Life slogan at this perfect fit, right?
对话稍后播出。
各位好，这里是中央广播电视总台财经频道对话节目，欢迎各位收看。我现在所在的位置是北京钓鱼台国宾馆。每年的春暖花开之时，世界各国的嘉宾都会来到这里，共赴中国经济发展高层论坛之约，围绕宏观经济、新质生产力发展、绿色低碳、产业链供应链稳定等等一系列的议题展开深入的交流和讨论。 今天我们对话节目现场邀请到了3位世界500强企业的主要负责人，他们都深耕中国几10年，他们是中国发展的亲历者，同时也是中国高质量发展的见证者和参与者。今天我们想听一听，在他们眼中，中国的创新活力究竟来自于哪儿？我们也试图读懂他们投资中国的底层逻辑和坚定信心。 您好，欢迎您接受我们对话节目的采访。这是您第几次来到中国？这次给您留下最深刻的印象是什么
？Probably 30 to 40 times that I've come to China through my career with Rio Tinto. So I first came to China in the early 2000s, and the growth and development in China, I think, is absolutely breathtaking over that time. And every year that I come, China is different, and China is further progressed than the last time that I was here. I think 2 things really stand out: the mindset around the future, and the innovation to me really stands out. The pace of innovation in China, I think, is a real inspiration to us as we think about our own business as well.
I have been to China so many times I can't even count. I try to come several times every year. Last year I was here 3 different times. My impressions are it's an energy in China for change, for growth, for innovation.
Oh, quite a lot of visits, right? Because China is very important to me. For me, the most important aspect today is that also the government now has a clear strategy that innovation needs to lead in the end to better life of people, and that's so much linked to my company's Invented for Life slogan at this perfect fit, right? And that's a new message also to the people of China that the higher consumption, which is an aspiration for the economy, leads obviously to the aspect that innovation needs to help people having a better life and having a better livelihood. This is a very good message.
这次来中国，您最想见谁？如果让您挑1位的话，您会选择谁？
Oh, that's a tough choice. I would tell you certainly our colleagues. They are the heart and soul of our company because I'm here to see my colleagues, which we have over 17,000 now in mainland China. Well, I like to say the best ideas come from everyone in the company. So our colleagues are closest to the markets, they're closest to demand, they're closest to understanding the needs of China as China continues to grow and succeed. So they help us formulate our product offerings, they help us formulate our service offerings, and I think they truly help provide a safe, quality riding product for us and service for us that makes a difference for many Chinese in their daily lives. I'm here to see our customers, I'm here to see our business partners, and just as importantly, I'm here to see the government officials because it's all a system that works together.
您最想见到的是哪一位？
I meet my colleagues from the automotive space, what they see here in China, right? So you meet all people which you know from Mercedes, from Volkswagen. So that's quite interesting. Also, you meet Chinese partners. That's important because the different perspectives give a complete picture.
What I really want to do here is meet as broad a range of people as I can possibly, and so as you say, that's government officials, that's other companies, that's some from our sector and many from outside our sector. We're at a period of profound and complex change, and so if people come together to think about the future are incredibly important.
在当前中国的这些创新领域当中，哪些领域给您留下的印象最深刻？
I would tell you right now it's generative and agentic AI is making the most immediate enterprise impact for Otis. It gives us the ability to integrate disparate systems. It gives us information at our fingertips. We use that data-rich data lake to be able to layer on agentic AI, to be able to make decisions quicker, to be able to help people quicker, to be able to be more productive, and in many cases to be able to bring products to market even faster. The speed of innovation here in China is unmatched, makes us better. Our customers demand more and make us better here. And I remind my teams all over the world when they tell me it's going to take, you know, X days or Y months, and I'm like, no, I need you to do it at China speed. And they understand what that means. So you have an ecosystem of what I would call kind of can-do people here who will take on any challenge to solve a problem. And they'll do it, but they'll do it in a way that's got ethics, that's got integrity, that's got boundaries to make sure that it's principled. So it all comes together here, which has been so great to watch.
Now for us, AI is very important because our purpose is to bring AI into products, right? We build products which you use in your daily life. If it's a cooking oven you have in your kitchen, or if it's a power tool where you drill a hole into the wall to put a picture on the wall, or if it's a car. Yeah, we do functionality with AI, so we don't build necessarily a language model which is generic. We build models which are functioning in your product. And that's so important because AI at some point has to become physical. Yeah, and you have a physical life. I mean, we are existing not just in data space, right? We are sitting here, we're eating, we're driving. We want to experience products, and that's what Bosch is doing, giving you AI in product form.
Certainly some of those are incredibly impressive, and I think about some of the innovations we've taken back to our own business. You know, at a copper mine in Mongolia, for example, we're working with Chinese partners to repower our truck fleet and swapping out batteries. We're working together in places like Guinea in Africa to undertake one of the world's largest mining projects. And it's a project that's been able to go from sanction through to first ore at the end of 2025 very rapidly, and I think that's a testament to the partners, Rio Tinto, the government of Guinea, and of course a number of companies from China as well. The pace of that development and how it's been done, I think, is a testament to each of the partners that's worked on that project, and certainly our friends in China have been instrumental in taking that project forward. But it's, I think, one of the single best examples of the way perhaps the world has changed in terms of working with others. Those innovations are eye-catching, but actually I think that one of the real insights and innovations I take from China is the way of thinking about systems differently, building out end-to-end processes with each part of that system talking to each other and working together in a collaborative and I think quite a different way. I think China's continuing to innovate the system that generates some of those things, more so than just the example itself.
您觉得这个创新态势会对您所在的企业和您所在的行业的未来趋势发展会有什么样的新机会？
Well, I think it'll bring several things. I think it brings a good modular product design for us. We're very proud of the 4 Industry 4.0 factories we have here in China and our largest R&D center in Shanghai. And they work on both products for China and offerings for China, but also for the world. But where the innovation is going is all about AI. Even in our industry, in every industry, we put an AI agent in an elevator that can help people. Yeah, I think there are several points where we can do a win-win. I would tell you the first would be co-creation with Chinese partners. To us, that's very important. We want to find the best technology partners, and then we want to apply that technology because we have the domain knowledge in elevators, in vertical mobility, and there is a win-win there. And whether it's one of the AI teams in Hangzhou or wherever it is, one of the companies, we think there's a really nice benefit there.
So for Rio Tinto, there's two substantial benefits. One is the products that we produce: iron ore, aluminium, copper and lithium. As the world's transition and energy transition progresses, they're going to be the commodities that are best positioned and in greatest demand. The development of the car, the development of smartphones. Now, they created enormous demand of themselves, but they created new markets, and they created markets where people were then able to innovate around those products. One thing those products have in common, though, was that they took significant resources and raw materials. The other layer of impact is how we use some of those innovations in our business. And so as we think about my own business and Rio Tinto's positioning, it's worthwhile to reflect both on the commodity requirements and just continuing to make sure that we meet the materials that people need in their lives, the materials that support the ongoing innovation in the economy. But Chinese innovations and suppliers that we work with right across our business are helping us make sure that we remain cost competitive.
We see we are one of the few Western global companies that has level 2 driving systems on the street in China. So this is great to experience with our Chinese vehicle partners, because here in China you can bring these kind of systems very fast on the road. And people give you direct feedback how they feel, because Chinese people are demanding in technology, and the Chinese population is among the 2 populations in the world that like technology most. It's India and China. China on the top.
作为跨国企业的掌门人，你们都为各自的企业做了战略的规划。您觉得中国的市场和中国的企业能够为你们的战略规划实施落地和未来的发展提供什么样的助力？
Well, our prioritization is fairly simple. It's all about being digital and being connected. We started primarily as a mechanical product and electromechanical, but today it's all about understanding how the elevator moves, how we move people, what we do with that data, and how we use AI as well as machine learning to be able to handle traffic more effectively. And we're certainly excited about the speed at which we can apply AI. You know, it's interesting, between AI and IoT, the Internet of Things, that's where this intersection is for the elevator industry and certainly for Otis. Again, it allows us to do preventive maintenance, but it also allows us to be more passenger-centric and add features to the elevator. You know, we only have people for a short period of time, but that period of time is very important to be able to provide additional features, especially safety, quality, reliably providing mobility. We're starting to see this really forward-leaning regulatory bodies for standards here in China. I think that will lead the world. You know, China's leading so much in digital and AI, and we've proven by sharing our data that we can do more by doing proactive and preventive maintenance than reactive. And all we ask is that the standards bodies continue to explore that so that maintenance can be more valuable and keep people safe.
We work with the Chinese partners, especially also in the automotive space. You see that because they're also very fast. And we also build systems that then use the knowledge of language models, because language models know if a situation is dangerous. They know if a situation is tricky. So they can do what you do when you drive with your partner or another person in the car. You drive too fast, the person next to you says, wait a moment, that's a bit too fast, don't do that, right?
有哪个技术上的优势是博士最看重的？
Yeah. The mobility sector in China is unique because it combines the strength of China in the digital space, because people here are very digital, very mobile. You have all your life in your mobile phone, right? So you're very advanced living with digital assets. Same time, you want to have these modern digital cars, and you are already working under the green assumption. You want green cars. Yeah. So this combination, affordable cars to expand the middle class, green cars, electrification, digital cars with the digital infrastructure, and the consumer loves it. He loves to have the modern digital car. That's unique in China. With the size of the market and the various Chinese OEMs which all fight for this, this is unique. Now, we have seen in the last years a lot of new Chinese companies coming into the automotive business. In all aspects of our business, we have Chinese competitors and Chinese partners, all of it. This is the characteristic of the market, it's very competitive. We like that competitiveness because that brings us also to become better, right?
力拓是矿业巨头，在未来的科技发展过程当中，一定要突破某些技术上的难点。哪些难点是我们中国企业可以提供助力、可以提供帮助的？
Chinese companies are already helping us overcome technical difficulties each and every day. In fact, prior to this meeting, I was talking to a number of our suppliers and talking about some of the challenges that we have, and challenges whether that's access to equipment that we need in our operations, whether that's technical challenges we've got at a particular mine or processing plant, or whether that's challenges thinking about future demand. And so Chinese companies are helping in all those areas. And again, I think it's about looking together at the future and thinking about how you best position around that.
我们知道您在中国有一个合作伙伴叫宁德时代，在这个合作过程当中有没有什么创新的模式？
So CATL is another example of fantastic innovations from China, and we're very proud to have CATL as a partner working together. I think true partnership is about looking at things from other people's perspectives. You're able to leverage each other's strengths and be stronger together than you are separately. And it's true of the CATL partnership, but it's true, I think, of all partnerships. Our first real deep engagement with China was in 1987, when predecessors of mine and visionary people from China came together to form a joint venture called China, which at the time was China's largest foreign investment, and really has been instrumental in my company as well in the way that we think about partnerships, in the way we think about working together. Now that was many decades ago, but I'm pleased to say that we've continued to build on that every year. You're not able to do things on your own in the same way as perhaps you were in the past. The world is changing so rapidly that I think there is a greater value from partnering with others than perhaps there was before.
有没有哪些中国新的合作伙伴是您下一步要合作的？
Certainly AI, as you say, is one of the areas of innovation and development. We're also lucky enough to have Chinese partners in a number of our projects that we're working together with collaboratively. We also need to think carefully about how we integrate AI into our businesses, and that's an area that we're spending a lot of time thinking about, how you bring in AI, how you integrate that with the rest of your operations.
New partners are always interesting from all new areas. For example, robotics. We are also looking into robotics for us, but also as robotics as a product. And there's always new partners coming. You see new startups coming. And we also invest in new startups and help new startups coming, because that's the next wave of large companies. You never know. It may be a company of just 3 people today. Maybe it's a company of billions in some years. So we are not looking at size, we're not looking at how big they are. No, it's more a question, how innovative is it? How much is it fitting to the trends of the future? And are they good partners for us? Are we good partners for them?
在科技創新領域和中國的合作有沒有什麼具體的短期和長期的一個目標？
I like to call it our innovation hub here in China. There's a speed and an agility and a market demand that drives us to innovate faster here than anywhere in the world. And then we use it as a benchmark all over the world to be able to use products. So we fuse all of that but very quickly here. And whether it's in our manufacturing facilities where we use AI to make our flow quicker, productivity gains there, and as well as in our field support, we're seeing it across the board. Our Otis Line call center, where we'll use AI, where we only need to answer certain calls with humans, everything else is technology driven.
我们知道奥迪斯在40多年前就已经进入了中国，您能不能给我们做一个对比？40多年前中国的合作伙伴跟现在的合作伙伴最大的差别是什么？
We started as an operating company with a JV partner in 1984. We are still with that partner. We've had other partners over time come and go, but we find it meaningful to have the government relations that we need, but also to have people that really believe in the elevator business. They've been with us from being a mechanical provider to being an intelligent mobility system, which is what we are today. And sometimes these tech firms aren't looking at our industry, but we see what that technology can do, and we want the ability to apply it in our industry. So I think the ecosystem has gotten a lot larger. I mean, we lived through a construction boom and an urbanization boom that was unmatched in 20 years in China, unmatched anywhere in the world. Now we're in an urban renewal acceleration because we need to take care of some of those older buildings with newer elevators.
当前的全球市场面临着更多的不确定性，你们要和中国的市场和中国的合作伙伴进行什么样的创新式的合作，能够给这种不确定性增加更多的确定性？
Well, uncertainty will always be there because the world is the world, right? This is uncontrollable, things happen. But the important thing is that you keep your long-term vision and you keep your compass, right? The compass has to show you where to go. And our compass is that we want to bring innovation to the people. We want to improve people's life. This is why we are invented for life. So we keep a long-term vision of innovation and product performance. And we do this with our Chinese partners. I think that's the right way.
One thing I know for sure is that the pace will continue to increase, and so we need to make sure that we adapt our business really fast to be able to harness that. But I think you can be really optimistic about the future. AI will allow us to access all bodies in a different way. It will allow us to operate our business in a different way. But it's also going to be a source of tremendous demand for our products as we look forward. Products like copper, aluminium, lithium, and iron ore. As a significant customer, China is incredibly important to our business. And the other thing I would say is we continue to look for opportunities and look forward to working together to collaborate to ensure that we continue to meet the world's requirement for raw materials.
So China draws us again because it's got predictability in terms of the growth. It's got a great innovation engine, which we take advantage of in our R&D center and our manufacturing centers, and it's got a supply chain that we can work with, that we can have resilience with, and that we can have even cost predictability with. And that gets us away from the world of involution. It gets us to the world of high quality development. It's predictable here in China, and it makes a difference when you make investment decisions.
奥迪斯把上海作为研发中心，有没有什么具体的计划，把中国本土的创新来反哺全球的市场？
It's our largest in the world, and our R&D centers are all connected to each other. So a lot of the digital connected software we develop, our Otis One IoT solution, which allows us to help buildings with preventive maintenance. All of this comes together in our Shanghai R&D facility. So it really has two purposes. It does R&D for China, but then it's also China for the world, where it's part of our broader architecture, our broader offerings in digital, and our broader offerings in passenger experience. So the displays that you'll see in China, you'll see in other parts of the world. Obviously different languages, but the similar architecture and similar reuse. The way we now have an AI agent in the elevator, that was developed here. We showed it at CIIE for the first time. So it's a win-win. It all got developed here in Shanghai.
其实目前全球的经济，很多国家面临着衰退的风险，全球经济的发展也面临着很多的挑战。您觉得在未来一段时间，奥迪斯有什么好办法来应对这种挑战，能实现企业的稳定增长吗？
And the beauty of our business model is our service business. It's our maintenance business, it's our repair business. It's basically servicing 2.5 million units that are in the Otis portfolio around the globe. It's mandated, it's regulated for life safety, and that gives us a very stable business that allows us to have the ability. That's where over 90% of our profits come from. So even as we experience things like the global pandemic, we were an essential service, and that was needed. And it was that stability that let me make sure all of our colleagues stayed with us, so that when the growth happened again, we were ready. And it's just having that wonderful, stable business model. Construction cycles absolutely are cyclical. And, you know, whether it's before the great financial crisis, all the different points we've all witnessed, the construction markets can come and go, but our service business is so consistent that it gives us the base. It gives us that buffer to be able to handle some of the shocks that happen around the world.
奥迪斯的整个的发展历程当中，哪一次危机给您留下的印象最深？通过什么样的创新，让这次危机变成了新的发展机遇的？
The one that has impacted my own leadership at Otis the most was certainly started in 2020. When you think back, that's when the global pandemic started. That was the same time in early April of 2020 that we became an independent company again. We left our parent conglomerate. So simultaneously, the world was in crisis, and we needed to lead through it. So we actually exited the pandemic, I would tell you, stronger. It let us build our foundations, whether it be our business systems, and that's what we saw kind of coming out of 21. So it happened at a unique time in Otis's history, but I think we became better for it. We learned to manage crises. We learned how to be what I would say is we learned how to be resilient. So now we've been dealt a few more challenges and headwinds since then, including several conflicts around the world, other geopolitical challenges, supply chain constraints right now, obviously shipping constraints. But what we do is we use that resilience muscle because the foundation was built during the pandemic.
春暖花开之际，外企高管为何齐聚一堂？
I have been to China so many times I can't even count. I try to come several times every year. Last year I was here 3 different times.
Oh, quite a lot of visits, right? Because China is very important to me.
We're at a period of profound and complex change, and so people come together to think about the future are incredibly important.
3家世界500强掌门人如何看待中国创新力？
The speed of innovation here in China is unmatched. It is the fastest anywhere in the world. It makes us better. Our customers demand more and make us better here.
I think that one of the real insights and innovations I take from China is the way of thinking about systems differently, building out end-to-end processes with each part of that system talking to each other and working together.
Aspect today is that also the government now has a clear strategy that innovation needs to lead in the end to better life of people, and that's so much linked to my company's Invented for Life slogan. It's perfect fit, right?
中国“15+5”规划为世界创新提供了哪些新机遇？
Is this convergence of strategy, meeting funding, meeting demand, and meeting government support?
I think aspects like the 15th five-year plan provide a really clear roadmap for where the economy as a whole is going.
That also China's innovation is brought to the markets of the world massively with decentral manufacturing, so there will also be factories. There will be Chinese supply chains which are not in China, which is a new thing. But in China also there's a huge opportunity in front of the country. So that's why I like so much this 5-year plan, big opportunity.
对话稍后播出。
在和3位来自世界不同国家的世界500强企业的领军人物交流的过程当中，我也深刻地体会到，他们对于中国创新对世界经济发展做出的贡献表示由衷的钦佩，同时也期待着和中国的合作伙伴创造更多的共同价值。当前，中国的营商环境在不断的优化，产业结构在不断的升级，对外开放的水平也在不断的提高。那么在这样的形势下，外资投资中国的底层逻辑发生了哪些新变化？有哪些新趋势和新特点？继续我们的 深度对话。奥迪斯是世界500强企业，投资中国已经有40多年的时间了。您觉得现在投资中国跟过去投资中国底层逻辑上有不同的地方吗？您觉得最大的差别在哪儿？
So the rationale would be the speed at which the China market continues to develop. It's interesting as we look back over the 40 years we've been in China, it was all about urbanization. It was about new construction. And that was wonderful until that started to slow down. And now there's about 900,000 elevators that are over 15 years old in China that need refurbishment. And this is where that's going to grow at 10% at least annually of the 10 million elevators that exist in China. And that actually, if you think about it as an opportunity, is going to be just as large as the peak of construction was for new equipment in the past. So what attracts us is the demand signal. What attracts us is a government that supports the stimulus, but more importantly, supports the ecosystem and the environment to do business here. What attracts us is the ability to have a predictable market where we can invest to be able to yield not just in 2026, but in 2030 and beyond. And it's that stable environment, that stable market, that opportunity that we don't see everywhere in the world, and that's why we're here.
在改革开放初期的时候，很多跨国企业投资中国看重的是成本优势和市场优势。那么走到了今天，奥迪斯投资中国更看重什么样的优势？科技创新吗？还是产业链、生态链？还是我们的供应链的完整？还是什么其他的？
Yes, all three, all three. Innovation, clearly. Again, the speed at which China develops technology, solutions, offerings is the fastest anywhere in the world. It happens in weeks, not months and years. And honestly, with parts of AI, it happens in days now. The supply chain is very unique. We have the ability to support China, in China, for China, with a Chinese supply chain. And the reason we're in Tianjin and in Hangzhou and where our manufacturing facilities are is because there's a mature supply chain nearby. But that supply chain is also, we learned with the pandemic, needs to be resilient. We can't single source things, but there's enough people in the supply chain, there's enough offerings that really makes a difference. But the ecosystem is everything. I mean, China is our single largest location for our colleagues. As I said, we have about 17,000 in mainland, almost 20,000 if you add Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan to our greater China business. That's larger than any other country, including the U.S., which is our home, our headquarters. We have about 10,000 colleagues there.
你们跟中国合作伙伴合作已经有很长一段时间了，现在我们发现越来越多了股权方面的合作。您觉得投资中国市场底层逻辑跟之前相比有什么不一样的地方？
I think China is our largest customer. More than 50% of our market is here in China. China is also now a very large supplier, and China is also a partner in many of the projects that we look at around the world. And so the nature of our relationship with China has evolved, even as China's economy has also evolved alongside that. So one of the things you need for good partnership is you both need to benefit from that partnership. And so I think it's about working together to find those areas where there is overlap, where you can each take something from that partnership, because they're the partnerships that will be sustainable. And when I look at our history, something like China from 1987, we're in that partnership successfully for decades. And it's because I think the design of that at the time really focused on where we could leverage each other's strengths. And so setting them up with that at the start so that they're robust, they can sustain through the inevitable fluctuations in time, I think is incredibly important.
There is a great supply chain in China, so that's also a good cost base. You could also export, but many products, exporting is a certain amount of risk because products are large, right? For example, if you export a large product, you need a lot of transportation and time. So in many products, you will see Chinese company doing both, using the local supply chain to perform here in the market, and at the same time build also capacity and capability in foreign markets. and that's the right way, I believe, to do. You know that in the political sphere, it's called inner circle and outer circle economy. So the inner circle is the Chinese economy circle, which is a super efficient supply chain economy, right? And the outer circle obviously has different mechanics because you have to transport goods, you have to use supply chains in the regions. So that's a different art. This is important that we do this with partners because we have been there.
我们知道博士在中国有很多的合作伙伴，但是这些合作伙伴呢，在过往可能更多的是本地化的合作，未来有没有推向全球的计划？
Now that's the interesting part that happens now. The Chinese companies now also become global companies. And yes, we have an experience in that because we act global, so we help and work with Chinese companies to go global. So if they go to Brazil, we are in Brazil. So we love it also in Brazil. So what's different in Brazil? The Brazilians drive cars with sugarcane-based alcohol. Oh, that's not in China. You don't have sugar-based cane alcohol here on the gas station, right? So, but the Brazilians have, because they have sugarcane, so they make alcohol from that, and with the alcohol you can drive a car. That's Brazilian technology. No, that's technology you can have with Bosch, and we do this in a Chinese car in Brazil. And you can use it in Brazil, and that's exactly what we do worldwide with Chinese companies. That's how Chinese companies become local in every area of the world, and I think that's the next trend.
我们知道，截止到2026年的1月份的时候，博士在中国3个城市加大了投资力度，分别是无锡、苏州和重庆。这种加大投资力度的吸引力究竟来自于哪儿？
Yeah, the rationale for investing in China is clear. It's because of the market mechanics. These investments are necessary, otherwise we could not serve our partners. So that's important. We need always to be ready to serve our partners and to ready to serve then the consumer. Because we don't build the cars, they build the cars, and the consumers want the cars. So it's very important that we have the capacity, the people ready to serve. If we don't have them, no service. So the second is obviously we have certain trends which we see in terms of technology. So we invest further into modern braking systems because the new cars will have different braking systems probably in their configuration. By-wire technology, it comes from the airplanes where everything is done by wire. Yeah, you don't have direct connection, you have a wire connection, just electronics. More software. That's the trend of the future, and that's why we also have to invest in that. And we do this obviously also in China, because in China you need to be there. If you try to do China from abroad, that's not possible.
在15规划当中提出了很多新产业的发展方向，你们有没有重点关注的领域？
The 15th five-year plan, when I look at it, I see high-quality development, I see smart cities, I see digitalization and urban renewal. That's Otis's strategy. We have the ability to make people's lives better with new technology, greener technology, more energy efficient technology, connected technology. So the best of everything that we continue to develop gets packaged for these older residential communities. And in these older residential communities, they're somewhat complex. That's a uniqueness of China. But the government has foreseen this. And whether it's the 15th five-year plan where they talk about urban renewal, whether it's the bond stimulus that the government had the foresight starting in 2024 to help residential communities, this is a commitment that the Chinese government has made, again, to make living better. There's also, just added this year in 2026, there's over 1 million units in Beijing and Shanghai that are still walk-ups, that don't have elevators, 7 stories on average. We now have the ability through this government program to add elevators to existing buildings that never had them. And to see that come out in the 15th five-year plan is this convergence of strategy, meeting funding, meeting demand, and meeting government support. And when all that can combine, that's a winning market for us for many years to come.
I think the pace of development here in China and that real vision about where people want to be in 5 years, in 10 years, that to me is something that really stands out, that differentiates, I think, companies here in China. Of course, there are many challenges to continue to overcome, technical challenges. I think aspects like the 15th five-year plan provide a really clear roadmap for where the economy as a whole is going. So we spend a lot of time looking and learning as much as we can about each of the plans. It allows companies like Rio Tinto to really focus on where they can provide the most support, whether they can provide the most value by working together with Chinese companies. And so I think that really clear direction certainly helps focusing where you could create the most value and prioritising those areas.
And we should always look a bit forward on the next 5 years, where to go. I think we'll see a lot of exciting things coming to us. AI will bring us complete new solutions. AI will also bring us complete new products. Now, definitely now we see another wave of new vehicles coming, for example, in the automotive space. So think about the size of the market in China. It's the biggest automotive market of the world. But there's not so many cars yet on the roads in China. If you see the population, it's 1.4 billion people. So there's still a lot of things to do, because not every Chinese person living in China is yet on the living conditions which I think China wants to see. You have formed a huge middle class, which is a fantastic achievement, but you can double this. So there is still a huge way forward to go in China. Plus, our partners and we are exploiting all opportunities on the rest of the world. And the rest of the world is big. This is a huge market. So I think this will be the next phase, that also China's innovation is brought to the markets of the world massively with decentral manufacturing. So there will also be factories. There will be Chinese supply chains which are not in China, which is a new thing. But in China also there's a huge, huge opportunity in front of the country. So that's why I like so much this 5-year plan. Big opportunity.
春暖花开之际，外企高管为何齐聚一堂？
I have been to China so many times I can't even count. I try to come several times every year. Last year I was here 3 different times.
Oh, quite a lot of visits, right? Because China is very important to me.
We're at a period of profound and complex change. And so people come together to think about the future are incredibly important.
3家世界500强掌门人如何看待中国创新力？
The speed of innovation here in China is unmatched. It is the fastest anywhere in the world. It makes us better. Our customers demand more and make us better here.
I think that one of the real insights and innovations I take from China is the way of thinking about systems differently, building out end-to-end processes with each part of that system talking to each other and working together.
Aspect today is that also the government now has a clear strategy that innovation needs to lead in the end to better life of people. And that's so much linked to my company's Invented for Life slogan. It's perfect fit, right?
中国“1555”规划为世界创新提供了哪些新机遇？
Is this convergence of strategy, meeting funding, meeting demand, and meeting government support?
I think aspects like the 15th 5-year plan provide a really clear roadmap for where the economy as a whole is going.
That also China's innovation is brought to the markets of the world massively with decentral manufacturing. So there will also be factories. There will be Chinese supply chains which are not in China, which is a new thing. But in China also there's a huge, huge opportunity in front of the country. So that's why I like so much this 5-year plan. Big opportunity.
对话稍后播出。
创新不问出身，合作不分国界。接受我们采访的3位世界500强的企业家一致认为，中国的创新是世界的机遇，开放的中国是全球的信心。中国正在以自己的方式为全球经济的发展注入更多的确定性。中国的科技发展也在书写新的历史。外资投资中国的坚定信念和决心，也是这个时代的生动注脚。这里是对话，感谢各位收看，再会。